the heart of the Caribbean lies an island divided by history and warfare, Hispaniola. In the late 18th century, one part of this island would ignite a fire that could not be extinguished. It is the birthplace of the only successful slave revolt in human history. At its heart stood one man, a former slave turned revolutionary general. His name was Toussaint Louverture, the Black Napoleon. This is his story, the story of the Haitian Revolution. Toussaint was born around 1743 on the Breda plantation in Haut-du-Cap, Saint-Domingue, present-day Haiti. Legend holds that his father, Gaou was of noble descent, being a son of the King of Benin in West Africa, and his mother, Pauline, was Guinou's second wife. But the brutal tides of imperial conquest and the transatlantic slave trade tore his family from their homeland, binding them in chains on foreign soil. A practice among European enslavers at the time was to strip enslaved Africans of their identities, replacing African names with European ones. Therefore, Toussaint's parents were baptized into Catholicism and were given new names, their original names lost to history. Their son was named Toussaint, meaning All Saints, perhaps a prophetic nod to the legacy he would carve. Unlike many of his peers, Toussaint was spared the grueling labor of the sugarcane fields. His aptitude with animals earned him the role of coachman, a position that allowed him to observe the workings of colonial society closely. In 1776, at the age of 33, Toussaint gained his freedom, manumitted by his owner. Freed, but not free from the shadows of his past, he adopted the name Toussaint Breda as an indication of the plantation on which he was born. As a free man, Toussaint sought to build a life of independence and prosperity for himself. He married Cécile, and together they had 3 children. He also had his own plantation and was himself a slave owner. Though a free black man owning slaves was a paradox, it reflected a complex reality. Purchasing and manumitting family members was often the only legal path to securing their freedom. Toussaint's ambitions eventually strained his marriage, leading to its eventual dissolution. In the year 1782, Toussaint Breda found companionship in his second wife, Suzanne Simone Baptiste. Thought to be either his cousin or the daughter of his godfather, Pierre Baptiste, Suzanne became his steadfast partner during turbulent times. Their union would be marked by love, resilience, and profound personal loss. Toward the end of his life, Toussaint confided in General Caffarelli that he had fathered at least 16 children, 11 of whom had tragically predeceased him. Among these losses was his eldest child, Toussaint Jr., who succumbed to a fever in 1785. The grief-stricken family organized a solemn Catholic funeral, reflecting Toussaint's devout faith. Around this time, Gabriel Toussaint vanished from historical records, believed to have perished from the same illness. While many of Toussaint's children remain shrouded in historical obscurity, 6 stand out, 3 from his first marriage and 3 sons from his union with Suzanne. Suzanne's eldest, Placide, was believed to be fathered by Seraphim Leclerc, a Creole planter. Yet Toussaint embraced Placide as his own, embodying the spirit of unity he would later champion for a nation. Together with Suzanne, he had 2 more sons, Isaac, born in 1784, and Saint-Jean, born in 1791. The family remained enslaved until the dawn of the Revolution. During the 1780s, Toussaint returned to the Breda plantation. He was perhaps drawn by the familiar ties of old friends and family. As a salaried employee, he resumed responsibilities that connected him to the land and people, caring for livestock, managing horses, and later overseeing operations as a master miller and muleteer or mule driver. Toussaint was an educated man. His intellectual journey began under the guidance of his godfather, Pierre Baptiste, on the Breda plantation. His letters reveal a mind influenced by the former slave, turned Stoic philosopher Epictetus and the Roman general Julius Caesar. While Toussaint spoke French Creole, formal French, and showed knowledge of Latin, he seems to have been most comfortable with French Creole spoken by his fellow countrymen. Surviving documents in his hand reveal a unique blend of phonetic French and Creole, symbolizing his dual heritage. During this period, Saint-Domingue was labeled as the Pearl of the Antilles. It was the richest colony in the world due to its sugar and coffee plantations. But this wealth was built on the backs of nearly 500,000 enslaved Africans, enduring unimaginable cruelty. The system was fragile, held together by oppression, fear, and the greed of the colonial elite. Beneath the surface, rebellion brewed. In 1789, across the Atlantic, the French Revolution erupted, shaking the foundations of monarchy and colonial rule. Revolutionary ideals of liberty and equality reached the shores of Saint-Domingue, stirring hope and defiance among the enslaved population. Saint-Domingue at the time was a complex mix of social, political, and economic factors tied to colonial rule, slavery, and the broader influence of the French Revolution. The population was divided into rigid social classes. At the top, there was the white elites, Grand Blanc, the wealthy plantation owners. Then there was the poor whites, Petit Blanc. These were the artisans, laborers, and overseers. This group was followed by the free people of color, gens de couleur libre, often mixed race. Some were wealthy and even owned slaves, but faced discrimination. Finally, there was the enslaved Africans. These people formed the majority of the island's population, living under harsh conditions. The ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity from the French Revolution inspired both free people of color and enslaved Africans alike. The Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, written in France in 1789, declared all men equal, but colonial authorities resisted applying these rights in Saint-Domingue. Tensions among free people of color boiled over, and in 1790, Vincent Auger, a free man of color, led a rebellion demanding equal rights for free people of color. Though crushed, this uprising highlighted growing unrest. A year later, on August 21, 1791, a massive slave uprising erupted on the northern plantations, led by figures like Dutty Boukman, who is believed to have organized a voodoo ceremony at Bois Caïman, inspiring the revolt. Enslaved Africans burned plantations, killed slaveholders, and demanded freedom. It was during this period that Toussaint Louverture emerged. Initially, Toussaint did not play a leading role in the rebellion. In fact, it is reported that in the early stages of the revolt, he helped his family and former slave master to escape from Saint-Domingue. After their escape, Toussaint threw his full weight behind the revolution and adopted the name Louverture, a French word meaning opening. Toussaint, a skilled strategist and charismatic leader, organized the rebel forces with unmatched discipline. His knowledge of guerrilla warfare and European military tactics made him a formidable opponent. But Toussaint's war wasn't just against the French. The Haitian Revolution, 1791 to 1804, was a complex conflict influenced by not only internal struggles among enslaved people, free people of color, and white colonists, but also by the broader geopolitical tensions of the time, particularly involving Spain, Britain, and France. At this time, Spain controlled the eastern part of the island of Hispaniola, now the Dominican Republic, while France controlled the western part, Saint-Domingue. In 1793, France declared war on Spain as part of the broader conflicts of the French Revolutionary Wars. Spain, seeking to weaken France and possibly expand its territory, decided to support the enslaved rebels in Saint-Domingue. Toussaint Louverture aligned with the Spanish against the French colonial authorities. Spain offered weapons, supplies, and military support to Toussaint and his troops, which helped strengthen the rebellion. In return, Toussaint fought for Spain, attacking French forces in Saint-Domingue. Toussaint's decision was strategic. The Spanish alliance provided him with resources and legitimacy while allowing him to continue the fight against slavery and French oppression. In a cunning move in 1794, the French National Convention abolished slavery in all French colonies, largely due to the pressure from the ongoing revolution in Saint-Domingue and the need to secure the colony amidst foreign invasions. This was a game-changer for Toussaint. His ultimate goal was the abolition of slavery, and with France now officially ending it, Toussaint switched sides. Toussaint abandoned the Spanish and joined the French Republican forces. He brought with him a large, experienced army, which was pivotal in defeating both the Spanish and later the British, who had also intervened. Britain was at war with revolutionary France and saw the chaos in Saint-Domingue as an opportunity to seize the colony and expand its empire in the Caribbean. The British also wanted to prevent the spread of revolutionary and anti-slavery ideas to their own colonies, where slavery was still deeply entrenched. In 1794, British forces invaded Saint-Domingue, hoping to conquer it with the help of white planters who opposed both the French Republic and the rebels. However, Toussaint, now fighting for the French once again, led a brilliant military campaign that ultimately defeated the British. He was aided by the colony's harsh climate, disease, especially yellow fever, and the resilience of the Revolutionary Army. By 1795, amidst the ashes of colonial rebellion and revolutionary upheaval, Louverture had become a beacon of leadership, adored by the black population and respected by Europeans and mulattoes alike. His influence stretched beyond military conquests. He was the architect of economic revival, social order, and fragile peace. Defying the restrictive laws of the French Revolution, Louverture welcomed back many émigré planters. But freedom under Louverture came with discipline. He enforced rigorous work ethics among the former slaves, convinced that human nature leaned toward corruption without structure. Yet the chains of the past were gone. No longer were the laborers whipped. They were legally free, equal, and shared in the profits of the plantations on which they toiled. Through the power of reconciliation, Louverture eased racial tensions. He believed that the African-born majority could learn from the Europeans and Europeanized mulattoes, fostering a society where cooperation triumphed over division. Moving to consolidate his rule, Louverture removed all who opposed him. Though he initially collaborated with French Commissioner Laveau, Louverture skillfully maneuvered him out of power by 1796. Then came Léger Félicité Sonthonax, a radical revolutionary with controversial ideas. Louverture, a devout Catholic, found Sonthonax's atheism and extremism intolerable. With calculated political strategy, he expelled Sonthonax in 1797, securing his authority. The British, battered and weary from the costly conflict, sought secret negotiations. Despite their ongoing war with France, they signed treaties with Louverture in 1798 and 1799, agreeing to withdraw completely. Trade flourished with both Britain and the United States, exchanging sugar for arms and goods. Another challenge arose with Gabriel Hédouville, a representative of the French Directory. Hédouville schemed to incite conflict between Louverture and the mulatto leader André Rigaud. But Louverture, ever the astute strategist, exposed his intentions and forced Hédouville into exile. With Saint-Domingue under his control, Louverture turned eastward to Spanish Santo Domingo, where slavery still lingered. Defying orders from Napoleon Bonaparte and French officials, he invaded in January 1801, liberating the enslaved and astonishing even his adversaries with his generosity. In command of the entire island, Toussaint Louverture authored a new constitution. It named him Governor-General for life, granting him near absolute power. Catholicism was declared the state religion, reflecting his deep faith. This was not merely governance, it was the realization of a vision, etched into the very fabric of a nation destined to become Haiti. But across the sea, in France, the French leader Napoleon Bonaparte watched with growing suspicion. In 1702, Napoleon sent an army of 40,000 troops under his brother-in-law, Charles Leclerc, to reassert French control and reimpose slavery. Toussaint led his final resistance despite fierce fighting. Toussaint eventually agreed to a ceasefire with Leclerc, believing that the French had accepted the abolition of slavery. To secure peace, Toussaint even formally retired from political and military life in May 1802, retreating to his plantation in Ennery. Leclerc, however, viewed Toussaint as a lingering threat to French authority. Under the pretense of holding diplomatic talks, General Jean-Baptiste Brunet, acting on Leclerc's orders, invited Toussaint to a meeting. Toussaint, trusting the offer, arrived with minimal protection. At this meeting, Toussaint was suddenly seized, arrested, and taken aboard a French warship. His capture was a calculated move to remove the symbolic leader of the revolution without inciting immediate rebellion. After his arrest, Toussaint was secretly deported to France. He was imprisoned in the cold, isolated Fort de Joux, located in the Jura Mountains near the Swiss border, a stark contrast to the tropical climate he was used to. In the fortress, Toussaint was subjected to brutal conditions. He was kept in a small, damp, freezing cell, with little light, poor ventilation, and minimal food. These harsh conditions rapidly deteriorated his health. On April 7, 1803, at the age of 60, Toussaint Louverture died. His death was likely caused by a combination of malnutrition, neglect, and pneumonia, although some speculate he may have been deliberately starved. His death occurred less than a year after his capture. Though Toussaint did not live to see Haiti's full independence, his leadership had set the revolutionary forces on an unstoppable path. Inspired by his example, his successors, notably Jean-Jacques Dessalines, continued the fight. Toussaint's last reported words were prophetic. He said, "In overthrowing me, you have only cut down the trunk of the tree of liberty. It will spring up again by the roots, for they are numerous and deep." Indeed, the tree of liberty he had nurtured flourished in Haiti's successful revolution.